All right, welcome back to Stock Tricks with Nick for this week's trading recap from November 23rd to the 27th. Remember, we had a 3.5 day week this week with Thanksgiving being off and then Friday being a half day. If you're new to the channel, we do these trading recaps on Friday. I put out a watch list on Sunday and then do another watch list called the Midweek Movers on either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how the market is acting. Please subscribe if you find any value from this live stream or from this stream. And then follow me on StockTwits and Twitter. I mostly post on StockTwits. That's the easiest place to get to me. So this week we were up $555. That's 1.46%. Some notable closed out trades this week were CRSR was 34%, FCEL was a quick short position for 12.2%, TWST 10.7, and TCON for 10%. On the losing side, I did have a gap down this week that was 10.9% down. That's OM. BRP slipped 6%. And then we had two 4.6, 4.3% losses. So again, if you're new to the channel, a lot of my strategy consists of cutting my losses as quick as possible and then letting my winners run to pay for a lot of these smaller losses. Today we'll be going over how my portfolio looks right now. We're definitely scaled in, starting to take some big swings on the market. We'll go over a market overview, how the indexes are doing, a quick look at the Sunday watch list that I put out, see how those did, and the Tuesday watch list, and then we'll go into detail on some of the completed trades and some positions that I have in my portfolio right now. So let's jump to portfolio overview. Right now I'm over 100% invested. I have some margin on, but not too much risk on. I say this because a lot of my stops are in the money or at my entry price on a lot of the positions. So I'm using the profits that I have on some winning trades to open up new positions, scale into some quality setups to see if we could start pressing our luck. We've had 2 months where the markets traded very choppy. We had the election, vaccine news, two Mondays in a row. And now we're starting to get a little bit aggressive with it since we're finding traction with some winners. So biggest portfolio holdings, net was 10.9%, FOR is 9.6, and then you can see the rest on here. I've got 23 open positions, which is too much. One thing that I'll be doing this week is consolidating that down to hopefully 10 to 12 positions. But when we first started getting some traction after the election, we started with very small position sizes, took a lot of different trades to see what was going to be working. And then now that we do have some things working, we're letting those positions either bleed off if they're losers, or we're taking some profits on the way up. So they're very, very small positions now, and don't have any short positions on at the moment. So let's jump to the market. So you can see the S&P 500 closed up 2.35% this week. The Qs up 2.97, and Dow Jones Industrial Average 2.29% on the week. And Dow Jones hit 30,000 this week. Let's jump to the chart so we can talk about that. S&P. So we closed off last week on this red candle under the 8-day exponential moving average. Since then, Monday, you saw a reclaim of the 8-day. And then Tuesday, gapped up, held, closed right at the high of the day. And since then, we've had some sideways movement. We're basically at all-time highs, so that's looking good. Next, we have QQQs. This one, you can see, let me take off the trade history there. So kind of a volatility contraction pattern here. 14% down on the first pullback, 10% down on the second from high to low, got 6%, and then like a really small one through here, 2%. So each of these pullbacks getting tighter and tighter. You see the 8-day holding really well the last couple weeks, and then let's see, this guy was our Friday close, so right on that 8-day. Since then, you saw one undercut of those previous lows, and then it took off, closing near all-time highs again. And then Dow Jones closed on this green candle on Monday. No, sorry, closed on this red candle. Monday, reclaimed the 8-day. Tuesday, we hit that 30,000 mark, and then some sideways action since then. All right, let's go over some of the watch lists. So again, I do a watch list on Sunday morning that I'll put out, typically 10 to 20 stocks. And then on Tuesday, we'll also do Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how the market's acting, we'll do another updated watch list. So from Sunday's performance, the big winners was VOXX, Square, and Alarm. And the big loser here was PSNL. Remember that last time when we talked about that, I already said that it was probably overextended, probably not a buy point, but we'll go over that in a second. Let's go through some of the trades. VOXX. So here you could see 200 days in an uptrend, 50-day uptrend, 20-day was kind of flat at the moment, but zooming out, you can see this has been a really strong stock since March, up 680%. So after this pulled down, had two pull downs. First one was 28%, then this broke out, got faded pretty hard. That was 15% down, and then tightened up. And we called this out. Let's see. This is the last Friday's close. We said you could use Thursday's high point of 1178 as a buy, or the high point on 1111 of 1240. And either one of those would have been really nice entries because you can see this large green candle closing near the high of the day on high buying volume. Next day closed just slightly higher. Still good volume after it pulled down and then rallied back up to that. And then 2 days of very, very low volume, coming back to the 8-day exponential moving average. So nothing really to worry about with this. Really nice clean entry on that trade. Next we have Square, SQ. This one we said a break over all-time highs would be the buy point. So you have double high there. Nice clean entry on Monday. Closed right at the high of the day, up above the upper Bollinger Band. Tuesday, inside day, nothing too much with that trade, and then just higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So that was up, I think, around 8%, 8.4% from last Friday's close. And then let's go over PSNL. That was the one that we said was probably overextended. You could have bought on last Friday's high, a break over the previous high point. And then on Monday, right in the morning, first 30 minutes, it rallied higher. And we said, ideally, we would have had another pullback and then had it a tighter entry point there, but wouldn't have taken this trade because the first 30 minutes it pushed higher and then just immediately fell through that buy point. And we're always trying to buy on the way up as it's breaking out over some resistance point. And this on Monday would have gotten out early and then just shot right down. You could see large selling volumes. Broke through 8-day, 20-day, tested the 50-day. Next day actually closed underneath, but since then we've rallied back to the 8 and the 20. But we're now in a lot of overhead, so you could see some trouble getting through this before it goes back to all-time highs. So that was Sunday's watch list. Let's go to the Midweek Movers watch list. We had a couple, and this is just, what would that be? Wednesday and Friday, so day and a half of trading. BLFS up 11%, TWLO up 9.3, BL up 7, and then biggest loser from that was CRM, and that was with the Slack deal on that. So let's go over a couple of those guys. BLFS. See triangle, like downward resistance right there. You could have bought on Thursday with a high, but then that squatted And then today, at any point, you could have bought either break over some of these previous highs, even that high, that would have all worked, even all-time high. Today, we closed at the high of the day. We were up 8.8%. Only kind of concerning thing is it was on lower volume, but it was a half day of trading, so not too concerned about that. Looks like a really, really strong breakout at this point. All right, let's go TWLO. If you guys are enjoying this, please leave a like and a comment. That helps me out tremendously with YouTube trying to get this out to new traders. So TWLO, we saw a gap and go, but then it pulled back, had one undercut of all the previous lows. So that gets out anyone who's had stops at previous lows, which you like to see if you're not in the stock already. Once you see that, not everyone, but a lot of the trading volume is going to be new traders coming in, setting their stops a little bit further away. Saw a move through the 50, through the 20, and the 8-day, reclaiming all of those, and then pulled back to set a nice buy point at basically those 2 days highs. Could have bought on Thursday, and then had some follow through action today. Also over this previous local high point. That was 314.73. So nice action with Twilio. Got BL. This one, we were pointing at all-time highs as the buy, and on Wednesday, the next day after we called it out, broke over there, closed above all those, and then we had some really nice follow through today. Full green candle closing at the high of the day above the upper Bollinger Band, and you could see no overhead. So nice action with that trade. And then just taking a look at why CRM Salesforce was so attractive. Had a gap and then kind of that volatility contraction pattern that we talk about. 18% down on the first pullback, 15% down on the second, 10% on the third, and 4.7% on the fourth. So each of these pullbacks were getting lighter and lighter. We were above all the moving averages, had a volume shelf of some support. So this got really tight, but never went over the buy point, which would have been the high of 11.19. So probably didn't take this trade anyway, but you did see large selling volume on Wednesday, close under the 8, the 20, and the 50-day. Today we had some sideways action with that. So those were the two watch lists. Got some good buyable names out of it. Not every trade was a winner, but that's how those went. Next, we have the trades that I wrapped up this week. So some of these could have been started this week, but a lot of them were started in weeks past that just wrapped up this week. So this is from my actual true entry point, not just last Friday's close. You see CRSR, 34% winner, really strong for me. FCEL, we talked about that on Tuesday's live stream, was just a quick short off of the blow off top there to soften up my PNL for the rest of the week. Twist was great, TCON will cover, and then OM will cover as well. All right, let's go CRSR. This is one that Leif put out, and let me throw the trade history out there. So you can see, tried to take this trade 3 times, and third time was the charm. Just because you get stopped out doesn't mean you throw away the chart forever, but get stopped out, and then you have to use the new high or whatever your buy point was before to get back in. So got stopped out on this lower wick. Really tight stop this time because not much was working. We were trying to just get some minor traction, got stopped out there, and then bought again after the break of the previous day's high, and then since then it was just exploded higher. So took some profit on the way up. You can see there, and now I have three shares left. So I called it a completed position because I'm not going to talk about this again. But really nice action there. Sold some into strength, and then was out for the most part on this candle. but it had 2 large selling volume days. Ideally, you get the high volume on one more day of extending, and then you sell on that high volume day, but didn't get that for the last couple shares. That's fine. Next, we have TCON. This guy we've covered before, so just quickly, 260% breakout, VCP action, right into earnings though, so hard to hold into that if you have earnings risk controls. Then had this double high point. This guy was at 795. This day was at 797. So put a buy order in if it broke over 8. Got filled at 801 on this day. Sold some almost immediately for some profit and moved my stop up to my entry point, or just below my entry. Moved it up a little bit to reduce risk. Next day, it went right to 801. But not to my stop at the time, and then sold most of it on this large move higher, and you can see it's squatted after a large upper wick, which typically shows that there's a lot of sellers at those prices. So did take off some more size at the close of that day, and then got stopped out of the rest when we undercut the previous day's low. So nice 10% position, 10% move on the trade. Got some traction, got some PNL to soften up and take some other trades on in the week. Next, we have TCS. This is one that I had put on 992. This is another one that Leif traded and warned us about. So 992 we got in, added to it at 1015. So had a full size position, started working really well. This candle closed above the upper Bollinger Band, but somewhat near the high of the day, and good buying volume. So nothing there really warned you that this was going to immediately turn around, work against you. So didn't have any reason to sell into strength at this point. And then on Monday, it just came crashing through, back through my entry to my stop, and had to take that for a loser. Should have probably moved my stop up to my entry because I had a 10% profit on it, and should have kept that tight, but early on, it was pulling back on lower volume, so didn't want to give too. I wanted to give it a little bit extra room to play around, because Tupperware was working at the time too. So that was the idea behind that trade. But have to respect your stops. Got out, and since then touched the 50-day, moved up, but still hasn't closed back over the 8-day. That was TCS, and then worst trade of the week, OM, and just a gap down day. We bought with a break over the previous day's high on, was that Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we gapped down 11%. Not sure. I'm not sure how I should have actually traded this. Maybe I don't sell it in the first 30 minutes, see if it bounces right back. But then again, it's easier to say after it happens, because what if it opens at that price and then the first 30 minutes we come all the way back to the space? That's another 11%. Probably don't want to take that risk. Maybe take off half of the size at the beginning and then see if we get any traction in the morning. Something that I'll note, go back through and see how to improve my trading from there. But it just rallied right from the start, and then the next day we had good follow through, closed at the high of the day, so right back basically at my entry point. Kind of feel foolish about taking it for a stop or a gap down, but that's part of trading. All right, and then we have open positions. Let's filter this by largest exposure. So net, FOUR, IAC, those are the ones over 7%. And then you can see I do have some, let's do this. So on my biggest winners that I still have on, you can see I booked some profits on the way up. I like to do that because you sell into strength. So when it does pull back, if it pulls back all the way to your stop, you might feel foolish for never taking some profit on the way up. Also, by booking this profit, you see that's $430. That allows me to take some new trades, put some new risks on, and really start pressing my luck. So with SPWR up 15.5% with some profit booked. ENPH, I'm almost all the way out of that now. You can see that's only 2% of my portfolio. Tupperware was working great, up 14%, but took some profit there. The big one that we'll talk about is net. That's up 11, or portfolio wise, basically 11%, and up 11%, and only booked a little bit into that. Another thing that I wanted to show was the biggest losers that I'm still holding. You could see 4.4% down is the position that I'm down the most on. So I'm always trying to cut my losers as quickly as possible. If I can know that I'm wrong on a trade right away, that's great, and I'll take the trade off immediately, because one big winner can pay for a lot of different risks that you put on. So as long as you're keeping your losses small, you can let one winner run and pay for all the other trades that you take. So 4.4%, the next one's only 2.8. The big one is 9.6% of exposure on FOUR, and that's down 2%. Still nothing terrible there, but I have a staggered stop on that guy. So that's kind of what I'm holding. I'll go over a couple of those trades as well. So first we have NET. So this guy had tried to trade on this nice run up and then just explosion. Then it pulled back, wanted to get into some action over previous high, but got stopped out. Took the trade again after we had this gap down day, then ran all the way back up, reclaimed the 8-day exponential moving average, and the next day bought on a break over that high. Only 5% of the position, or 5% of my portfolio was on that first buy, and then added to it with a break over Monday's high point here. You can see we closed basically right at the high. After I added at that point, I moved my stop up to keep the same amount of risk. So say I had 5% position size and 5% stop loss. That dollar amount that I'm risking on the 5% stop loss on the 5% position size, when I moved it up to a 10% position size, I kept the dollar amount risk the same. So I'm basically playing with the gains that I've already have on this trade to really start pressing my luck, because this was quality setup that started really moving, and now I have 11% on a larger position size, which is exactly what you want. Today we see a full green candle closing at the high of the day above the upper Bollinger Band. Took some profit at the end of the day, but majority of the trade is still on. So that's NET, FOUR. Tried to take this once, got stopped out, and then basically set up again through here. Was using this guy's high and put again, starting position on through the break over this guy's high, then it kind of squatted. Then we got some follow through over the previous high at this point, so put another 5% of my position on. So nearly a full position size for me is 10%. Since then, kind of moved sideways. Today we closed lower, down 3%, closed at the low of the day. Hasn't hit my first stop just yet, but one thing that I'm looking at is really, really low volume on the pullback. That doesn't make me as nervous because it's not big people selling. It's just some people taking some profit, seeing taking profit maybe on this move up through here. That's 14%. But it's still going to be holding the position. Hasn't really given me a real reason to take anything off. But I have a staggered stop, so if it starts moving even further down, I'll take half off, and then if it goes through the other stop, I'll be all the way out. So that's FOUR. Got OMI. This one has two gap and goes, so you see this move. Let's see, what was that? 84%, ran all the way to about 120 from the previous base, pulled down, gapped again, and 50-day simple moving average started coming up, providing support through here, and then bought with a break over this guy's high and also the 20-day simple moving average at the time. So got filled at 24.51. Since that point, moved higher a couple days, and then today It did have a long lower wick touching that 50-day simple moving average, but rallied to the end of the day to reclaim 50, 20, and 8-day. So ideally, we can move over this guy's high because then we're really thin, not much overhead to get to all-time highs on that. So OMI. Next, we have ALGN. Another gap and hopefully go. Pull back to the 8-day, ricocheted higher, and then another pullback. I bought with a break over this guy's high, so that was 266.75. Since then, we had that day of higher high, higher low, and then two kind of pullback days or sideways action. But again, really light volume through there, lighter than the breakout day. We'll see if we can get some more traction through there. But we have the 8-day exponential moving average and the 20-day right there for support. Next, we have PENN. This was one, basically a triple, almost a triple high point. We got one there, and then today we broke over that. That was the buy point, and then it had just squatted since there. DraftKings is starting to work. We see a couple more gaming. CRSR is gaming. So getting that industry starting to work again. We'll see if this can continue higher. But you don't like when it buys and then just squats on you. But sometimes that happens. That's why you always set your stop loss. Got three more names to go over. We got Snapchat. So a couple trades on here that we've talked about before. This was looking awesome for a strong breakout, and then we hit, got great vaccine news, but again, vaccine news wasn't great for the growth stocks. Got stopped out of that trade. Set up again, broke over the high of this guy, so 41.31. Got filled a little bit later at 41.83. Since then, two really strong days. Sold some of the position as we opened, gapped up over the upper Bollinger Band, and opened on some news of the Snapchat creator, where they're going to start paying creators. So took some of the position off. It was good profit, and then we saw that sold off the rest of the day. Red candle close above an upper Bollinger Band. That typically leads into another day of pulling back, which we saw on Tuesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. So that was Tuesday. And then since then, some sideways action. And then today we had higher highs, higher lows. But again, lower volume through here. Have a really nice profit on this. My stop's at my entry now, so letting the rest run. Outside of gap down, that's a risk-free trade. EXPI. This is one that we talked about before. Strong action through here, and then pulled down, had a fake breakout, pulled down again. And this is one where I took the position with the break over the high from 11.12 and then added to it the next day. I think as we broke over, let's see, 51.39, 51.29. Added to it basically with a test of that high. And then we got some sideways, slightly higher movement. Today, closer to the high of the day. Let's see, what did I get that off at? 54.80. Got some of the trade off there, 25% or so. Booked that profit on the way up. Stops at my entry. So again, outside of a gap down, that's a risk-free trade. And then we have LE. This was on the market movers watch list on Tuesday that we put out. That we see really strong action through here. That's a 170% move since July or late July, early August. Pulled back to the 8-day. Volume got really, really quiet, and then used both of these guys high. So that's 23.15, 23.15. So a break over 23.15 was my buy. Saw a large green candle on high volume. Sold a little bit into strength there, and then the next day, today, got stopped out on half of the position, protecting my entry point, and then I still have a little bit left on that, but You don't like to see the trade immediately squat after it breaks out. The strongest stocks are going to break out and hold, so want to lighten up exposure. Again, because I have so much of my portfolio, I'm on leverage at this point. I have to be aggressive with my stops, have to protect any of the gains that I have. So um, maybe if I was 20% invested, 50% invested, I wouldn't have had my stop so quickly at my entry, but I have to be, if I'm going to be this aggressive on a position size and number of positions, I have to be just as aggressive with risk control to keep my portfolio from any real damage. All right, so that is the weekly recap. This week up $555, 1.4%. Let's see if we can get some action going. I will be posting the watch list on Sunday morning after doing some research. So make sure you subscribe. Stock Tricks with Nick. We do the recaps Friday, Sunday watch list, and then either Tuesday or Wednesday, again, depending on how the market is acting, another watch list midweek. And follow me on Stock Twits. Post there most of the time. Twitter, don't post as much, but we'll post some charts there as well. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video and comment on what stocks that you're trading that I didn't mention that I should add to my watch list. Have a great weekend.